really matters? That might be the most important question you can ask. So let's talk about it. Welcome to What Really Matters podcast, episode number 5. I'm Karen Wyatt, and today I'll be sharing with you some wisdom on the 4th lesson of the 7 lessons from the dying, which is the present moment, how to be right here, right now. And this is really important information for all of us, and particularly as we're trying to find meaning in life and joy and love. All of those things are only available to us in the present moment. And so the key to actually finding peace and equanimity in life is to learn how to live in the present moment. And it's much harder to do than it sounds. I know this is a catchphrase that's being used everywhere, so people talk about it all the time, the importance of the present moment. But in this episode, I'm going to share with you some tips for actually bringing your energy more fully into the present moment, some practices that you can use. And I also wanted to emphasize that the better you get at forgiveness and letting go of past wounds and hurts, the more easily you'll be able to come into the present moment, because you'll free up energy that's been stored in old memories and have that energy available to use right here, right now. So that's one of the best suggestions I have for you, is to keep working on forgiveness every single day. But for now, let's listen to this episode on how to be right here, right now. This subject became very important to me once I started working in hospice. Up until that point, I didn't really understand what the present moment was. I had read books like The Power of Now and heard people talk about being present and being in the present moment, but I didn't fully understand what that meant or even how to do that. I didn't really even know if I had ever experienced that myself. But when I first started working with dying patients and sitting with them, I began to recognize that many of them were particularly good at savoring each and every moment of life. They would tell me about experiences they had had, like a beautiful sunset they had seen the night before, and describe all the colors and how they sat by the window and watched the sunset as it changed and the colors melted together and gradually faded away at the end of the day. They would also describe to me things like eating an ice cream cone and how delicious it was, and the cold temperature and the sweetness of the ice cream and the drips running down the side of a cone, and the whole experience and how amazing it was for them. And I realized, of course, it's because they know that sunset might be the last sunset that I ever see. That ice cream cone might be the last one that I ever eat. And I recognized how powerful it was to have that knowledge and to recognize that this experience that's happening to me right now might never happen again. This might be the only time I experience this in the rest of my days. So I need to make the most of it. I need to take it all in. And I saw that for these dying patients, the knowledge that they had only a few days of life left was powerful information, a powerful motivator for savoring the present moment and soaking up everything good about what was happening right now in the moment, for cherishing every smile from a loved one, every time they got to hold a grandchild in their lap or laugh with a friend. Every one of those little moments, those little events became precious for them simply because they were self-limited, because they weren't going to last forever and they weren't possibly going to ever happen again. So that's when I first became aware of this idea of really enjoying fully the present moment, whatever is happening right here, right now, wherever I am. I observed it. I witnessed my patients being in that state. And yet I still was not very good at doing that myself. I recognized, like, I've never enjoyed an ice cream cone as much as this person seems to have enjoyed the ice cream they ate yesterday. So I knew that something was missing for me. I knew that I wasn't in the same place my patients were. I didn't know if I could be in that place or not. And it really came home to me one evening when I was out for dinner at a nice restaurant with my husband. And you might have heard me tell this story before. As we were eating dinner, my head was full of thousands of thoughts. I was thinking about things I needed to get done the next day. I was thinking of things I hadn't finished that I should have done that day. I was worrying about an argument I had had with someone a few days earlier and how I was going to resolve that, and also feeling stressed about events that were going to be happening down the road, a few weeks down the road. All those thoughts were in my mind simultaneously, taking up all my bandwidth, completely occupying the space in my head. All of my thoughts as I was eating this nice dinner in a restaurant. And I found myself actually thinking and saying, we should come here for dinner sometime. And as I heard myself say those words, I realized what I mean is I'm not actually here right now. I am not actually fully present here in this restaurant at this table, tasting and enjoying the food. I'm going through the motions of being here. I'm cutting up my steak and I'm chewing it and eating it, but I'm not even tasting the food and I'm not even enjoying it because my head is so full of other thoughts and because my awareness is being drawn either into the past or into the future. I'm worrying, I'm stressing over things, I'm listing things in my head, I'm making plans for things. I'm not being here, fully here in this moment, in this restaurant, enjoying this lovely dinner with my husband. And that's why the thought occurred to me, I want to come back here again someday when I could actually be here and actually enjoy it and actually take all of this in fully. I knew that I wasn't fully there and fully present for it, and I wished I could be. And all I could think of was, we have to come here again so that I could really experience this place and what it has to offer. And as I thought about that moment, I felt very sad and I realized, wow, I am way off here. The way that I'm functioning is not really the way life is meant to be, because once again, having learned lessons like impermanence and knowing nothing lasts, everything changes, everything could be gone in an instant. I might not be here to come back to this restaurant again. The restaurant might not be here in the future. This is my moment. I'm here right now. I'm here in this place right now. This is my moment to enjoy the food here and to enjoy this experience of being here. And yet, in spite of knowing that and being aware of it, I did not know how to bring all these parts of myself into that moment so that I could fully take in that experience. So it became obvious to me, I don't know how to be in the present moment. I don't know how to live fully each and every moment of my life. My dying patients do know that. Most of them do seem to be learning that and mastering that. In some ways, it's because they don't have a choice. They don't see a future that they can think too far ahead about, and many of them are deciding that they need to let go of some of the things that happened in the past, and especially old resentments and bitterness and anger that they might be holding on to. Many of them decided that needs to go. I have to let go of all of that. I don't have time to waste on thinking about stuff that already happened in the past that isn't happening now. I need to be here. I need my energy right here so I can make the most of what's happening in this moment. So it became clear to me that I was not good at doing that at all. And I wondered if possibly I would have to wait until I was at the end of my life. But once again, I realized again that thought, but everything is impermanent. How do I know I'm not at the end of my life? I don't even know that for sure. And I recognize when I could fully embrace the idea of impermanence that we already talked about in the first part of this series, I could remind myself every day that nothing lasts. Everything changes. What is here for me this moment right here, right now, may not continue to be here. I have to make the most of what's here right now. So I set out to try to learn how to be in the present moment and to learn what it takes to bring all of my energy and my focus into this moment right here, right now. And for me, it was a huge advantage to be working in hospice, to be around death and dying in my job every day, because I had constant reminders, as I've said before, of impermanence and of the fact that life is short and fleeting. So I was motivated every single day to practice and to work on myself and to discover how I could experience more of the present moment. Also, at this time, as I was learning more about how to be with a dying person, one of the words that kept coming up over and over is to learn the art of presence, how to be present with a patient. And at that moment, I understood that's the same thing. Being present with someone, having presence is the same thing. Having all of your attention and your focus be on the present moment. And it became clear to me that being present for another person is a skill that's very valuable, but something that we have to learn and practice for ourselves. So that's what I set out to do. And for myself, I already had some practices in my life. I already did yoga every day, which had taught me how to get into a state of relaxation. It taught me to slow myself down and how to use my body to stretch, to bend, to get into a pose of relaxation so that I could begin to find some stillness in my life. And I was already using meditation to a certain extent. So those two tools were a really powerful way for me to begin to focus more on how to stay in the present moment. Because I recognized during my yoga practice and during meditation, for the most part, I was able to get to the present moment. I was able to experience it and able to see it while I was engaged in those practices. And what I needed to do was learn how to expand upon that and how to carry that feeling of presence and being fully here, right now, into every moment of my life throughout every day. One thing that has been very powerful for me has been reading the book, The Heart of Buddha's Teaching by Thich Nhat Hahn, where Thich Nhat Hahn explains the approach in Buddhism toward mindfulness and presence. And it makes a lot of sense to me and was very helpful to me as I was working on my own practice. And first of all, he talks about the fact that presence means attention. And so being present, it's actually where is our attention going? And so the reason I wasn't present at that dinner I was having with my husband is because my attention was going off in 1,000 different directions. My mental attention, my thoughts, my mind was going off in many different directions. In addition, my emotions were also in other places. I had an emotion of some anger and frustration about something that had happened a few days before with another person. I also had some anxiety about things that were going to happen in the future. So my emotions were caught up in the past and in the future, not in the present. And Thich Nhat Hanh describes that presence is the art of bringing the body, mind, spirit, speech, emotions, all into a single alignment, so that every aspect of our being, every aspect of ourselves is focused at the same time, in the same place, which is this moment right here, right now. That is what ultimately presence means, to have every aspect of who we are, every aspect of our being in alignment in whatever is happening right now, wherever we are. So I liked that idea of having a single focal point in a way, and of bringing together every part of me into that single point of focus. And that point exists in the here and now, right here in this moment. It doesn't exist in the past. That's already gone. The past isn't here anymore. It doesn't exist in the future. That hasn't happened yet. The only place that's real is right now, right here, this moment. And so having that idea in mind that I needed to bring all the parts of me together to focus on this very moment and whatever I'm doing right now. So that became my task, to begin to learn, how do I bring all the parts of me that are scattered and fragmented and running off in different directions into this one place. And the fact is, the physical body, it is here in the now. The physical body only exists in this moment. The physical body is all about the present moment. The soul, or the spirit, also only exists in this present moment. So it's really the mind, the emotions, the ego that can be scattered into the past and the future, that need to be gathered together and brought back into the present moment in order to have this experience of being fully present for ourselves and fully present for others, including the dying, if we are sitting for the dying. And Thich Nhat Hahn wrote something really beautiful, that if one person can be fully present for a dying person, that dying person can be assisted more than anything else on their journey, their transition into death. If one person is simply there and fully present for them, because presence itself is so powerful. When our focus and our attention is all on this single moment, it creates a sacred space around us. And it is within that sacred space that a dying patient can feel safe enough to make their transition to die when the timing is right. It's also the place where healing can happen and transformation can happen. And so Thich Nhat Hahn describes that we are really creating sacredness around us when we can bring all of our attention to this single moment and not be distracted or pulled away from it. But once again, as I said before, it takes a great deal of practice in order to have that capability. So that's what I learned. It was something that I had to devote attention to every single day. And I began to use my yoga practice and my meditation practice as the place where I would work on developing my skills at becoming more present and being in this moment. And again, I already had those practices. I just wasn't using them so much to develop my ability to be in the present moment. So I have a few recommendations based on what I learned about how to be present. And I will tell you, in all my years of working in hospice, I have had many other hospice practitioners, nurses and aides and volunteers and social workers say to me, I know I'm supposed to be present with the patient, but I don't know how to do that. And I recognize we're all kind of in the same boat. It isn't necessarily something that just comes naturally to us. It is something that we have to learn, and we need guidance to even know how to learn it. Where do we go? How do I learn how to be present? So here are a few steps that I learned for myself that can help me practice being in the present moment. And once again, I want to emphasize, because it's a practice, you should know that it isn't that you suddenly overnight can be fully present in all the moments of your day, the next day. This is something that takes a long time to develop and to hone over time. And that initially you may feel like, oh, I feel like I'm here. I feel fully present. And that might last for a few seconds, and it might instantly dissolve away because your attention will get distracted and your thoughts will go somewhere else. And then later in the day, you might bring yourself back to that focal point again, only to have it dissolve away again and disappear. And that's what the practice is really about. The practice is about bringing yourself into the present moment, having it disappear, and then figuring out how to get back to the present moment again, and repeating that over and over and over again, thousands of times. And what you discover over time is that gradually, each time, you might be able to stay present and focused and attentive a little bit longer each time, a few seconds longer, up to a few minutes longer. And you might find that there's less time in between your experiences of being fully present, and that you can get to that state more easily, more quickly, and more often during each day. That's how it will grow over time. But remember, the practice it's this sequence, coming into the present moment, knowing that you're fully attentive and focused on this moment for a few seconds, and having it dissolve away and disappear. And then coming back into that state again. So that is the practice, finding it, losing it, and finding it again. And so I want to emphasize that, so that when you experience having it dissolve away and becoming distracted and losing your sense of the present moment, you don't feel discouraged, because that's the process that's required in order to develop your presence. And so it's really a learning activity that we'll probably spend our whole lives working on and growing gradually over time. If you're lucky enough to work in hospice or to work with dying patients, or with any patients really who are ill, that is an amazing opportunity to work on your skills and practice, because you will have times when you are called upon to sit at the bedside of someone who simply needs you to be there and be quiet and still for them. And so you can use those opportunities as times to practice your focus, and times to practice bringing your awareness to this moment right here, right now. So again, I'll go back to what I said before. I'm going to tell you some of the steps that I go through to bring myself into the state of presence, into the present moment, attentive and focused as fully as possible on this moment. And the first is simply to become still. So many times in our lives, we actually avoid stillness. There's so much to do. We have so much on our plates sometimes that we rarely have opportunities to actually sit still and be quiet. And that's what I was saying. Those of us who work with ill and dying patients are fortunate, because it's part of our work to become still, to have those moments for stillness when we can just sit with someone quietly. So we're actually lucky that that is part of our work, a necessary part of our work. Many other people might be on schedules and in workplaces that are so hectic that there isn't even a time to just sit down and enjoy a meal or a snack without multitasking and having other things to do. For people who are in that busy sort of state for most of their lives, you will have to find opportunities when you can be still, and you don't need a lot of time. You only need a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, where you can go someplace. Perhaps there's a place in your workplace where you can go where it's quiet and you can be alone, and you can simply sit without your phone, without your day timer or planner, without a book or anything else, without any distractions, to sit quietly for a few minutes in one place. That's the first requirement, is that you have opportunities in your day for stillness. So again, you might have to carve out a time to be still. You might have to get up a few minutes earlier in the morning when everyone else is asleep before you have to start helping kids get dressed or making breakfast or packing lunches. You might have to stay up a little later after everyone else is asleep. You may have to steal away at other times during your day. And so I encourage you to seek out places and times where you can enjoy, and let's just say 5 minutes of stillness. You need that 5 minutes every day. That's the starting place, having stillness. It'll actually get easier for you to get into the present moment down the road, and you won't need so much quietness and solitude to get there. But in the very beginning, it's essential that you have a place you can go that's quiet and still. So the next step, once you are in your still and quiet space, is to tune into the body, because as I mentioned, your physical body is in the present moment. It's right here, right now, in this moment. And so the first thing to do is perhaps close your eyes and just notice your body. Notice what your body's experiencing. Oh, I'm sitting on a chair right now, and I can feel the chair. I feel the back of my thighs pressing into the chair. I feel my feet on the floor. I feel my hands, they're resting on my knees. I feel a slight pain in the small of my back where I have a little bit of discomfort there. I feel moisture on my tongue. I feel the breath coming in and out through my nostrils. Just in that moment, tune in to whatever physical sensations you are experiencing in your body, because those sensations are happening in this moment, right here and right now. And so experiencing your own body is a great way to begin to come into this moment and be aware of what's happening right now. So be still and quiet, tune in and listen to your body, experience whatever your body is experiencing in this moment. And the next step is to begin to notice your breath. And I already mentioned you can feel the air coming out of your nostrils. You can feel air moving through your mouth and cooling off your tongue as the air moves in and out through your mouth. So notice your own breathing and begin to focus in on the breathing and paying attention to it. The breath is one of the very best ways to bring you into the present moment. When you incorporate it into this practice that you're going to do for 5 minutes every day of your practice of presence, when you utilize focusing on your breath, you're going to be strengthening a tool that will help you wherever you are at any time in any place in your life. It's this awareness of your own breath. And as I said, you're breathing in this moment, right here, right now. And so the breath is one thing that can almost always draw your attention into the present moment by simply focusing on the breath. And all you have to do is notice it. Notice the air coming in and the air going out. And to even heighten that awareness and focus, you can count your breaths as you're breathing. One thing I like to do, I count to 5 as I breathe in, and it occupies my mind and my thoughts. I'm counting, so I give my mind something to do, which is to count the time as I'm breathing in, 5 in, up to 5, and then 1 through 7 as I breathe out. One of the reasons I've talked about before to breathe out longer than you breathe in is because it helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system. A prolonged exhalation activates the parasympathetic, which puts you into a more relaxed state, which is very helpful when you're trying to be present in the moment. It helps counteract the adrenaline surge, the fight or flight reaction that is triggered by the sympathetic nervous system. So while you're breathing and counting, count in for a count of 5 as you breathe in, and then breathe out for a count of 7, and do that 3 or 4 times. And intentionally focus your thoughts on counting as you breathe, also on noticing the movement of the air and whatever sensations there are in your body as the air moves in and out, as your lungs fill and then empty again. You can be noticing that sensation, because again, that's the present moment. That's what's happening in that moment as you're breathing. So the more that you practice on a daily basis, focusing in on your breathing, the more you're going to strengthen your ability to do that practice. And you'll be strengthening it as a tool that you can use in other places, so that when you're in any other situation where you start to feel stressed, you start to feel yourself worrying, you feel your mind racing off and going into the past or into the future, you feel your emotions rising, you can simply use your breathing practice. Take 3 deep breaths, count the breaths in and out, and it will help bring you back into a more relaxed state and a more focused and attentive state in the present moment. So utilize that breathing practice every single day in this little 5-minute exercise of stillness. And once again, you will actually be training yourself to notice the breath and focus on the breath, so that down the road, after you've done this for a few weeks, it will actually come easily to you. And it will occur to you, oh, I could use my breath right now in this situation. And you'll begin to call on that tool and that practice when you need it, when you need to come into the present moment. And so, say my example again, if you're a hospice worker and you need to come into a situation where there's a family that's very upset and angry, and a patient that's anxious, and you somehow are the person who's been called upon to bring calmness into the situation, that's the moment when you use your breathing. Before you walk in the front door, take 3 slow, deep breaths, get yourself into a relaxed and calm state, and you will be walking into that household, bringing this like moving cloud, not even cloud sounds negative, but it's like this moving essence of calm energy into a space that is disturbed and conflicted and upset. And you will be able to calm things down simply by your full presence there. And using those 3 deep breaths before you walk in is what gets you started, is what brings you into a calm space, so that you can create that for the family and the patient that you're with in that situation. So you will find over time, breathing is your most helpful tool for getting yourself into the present moment, no matter where you are. But the next step, while you're sitting in your 5-minute practice each day and doing this breathing, is to allow whatever emotions come up to arise in you. Because remember, Thich Nhat Hahn said it's bringing all of the parts of ourselves together in the present moment, and that includes emotions. And so if you do find anxiety rising in you, or anger or frustration or fear or sadness, it's important in that moment that you allow the emotions to arise. It's not helpful to try to repress them or shut them down, but allow them to rise and simply witness them. And what you want to do in your still, calm state is take one step back from the emotions that are coming up in you, as if you were a wise advisor observing, oh, look, there's some fear coming up in me. Isn't that interesting? So that instead of identifying with the fear, you simply observe the fear. You observe it from a slight distance. So rather than saying to yourself, oh no, I'm frightened right now, you don't identify, you don't label yourself with the emotion that you're having. You take a step back and say, oh, look, there's some fear arising. Because that helps you see that you are more than your emotions. You are much more than your emotions. You are a conscious being. You are a spirit, a soul. You don't have to be a slave to whatever emotions are arising. You can simply be a witness to them. So the next step in this practice is learning how to let whatever emotions might come up as you're doing the practice, let them arise and let them be there. And the moment you're able to witness them is the moment that they actually start to dissolve away and start to diminish a little bit. And they no longer become a problem or a distraction to you because you're simply allowing them to be there, like, oh, emotions are normal. It's normal to have those. It's not a problem. It's okay that that's there right now. Isn't that interesting? But I'm so much bigger than that. I'm so much more than my anger. I'm so much more than my frustration. I'm so much more than this worry and anxiety that's coming up in me. I'm so much more than that. I'm a calm center. I'm a calm spirit. I'm not bound and limited by these emotions that are present right now. So those are the kinds of thoughts that you can cultivate as you're witnessing the emotions when they arise. And then the next step in this process also is to let your thoughts drift by, because the moment that you sit down and become still and start focusing on your breathing, and you also don't feel controlled by your emotion, your thoughts will begin to drift again out in many directions. And that's because that's what our minds do. That's what our thoughts do. And our minds have had all these years of our lives to practice being distracted all the time and going off in many different directions. And we're now in the process of training our minds to come into a centered focus, to stay in the center, to stay attentive and focused on this moment. It's a training process, though. And so, as I said, we're going to continually fall out of it over and over again so that we can practice getting back in and coming back into the center and coming back into focus. So allow the thoughts, whatever thoughts go through your mind, try to not cling to them or attach to them or pay too much attention to them. Allow them to float by as if they are clouds floating by in the sky. And you don't have to pay attention to them. You don't have to do anything with those thoughts. You don't have to make decisions or solve anything or work toward anything in this moment. These thoughts are there. Oh, well, that's interesting, but let it go. Let it go, just as if the cloud passes on and moves by you in the sky, only to make space for another cloud to come by that will pass by you. So these are the 5 components that I recommend of this daily practice to learn presence. And I'll repeat them again. First, stillness, creating the space and time to be still and quiet. Second, tuning in to the body and noticing whatever sensations the body is experiencing. Third, begin to focus in on your breath and breathing intentionally and counting your inhalation and exhalation with a longer exhalation than the inhalation is. Then allowing emotions to arise, whatever comes up in you, and also letting your thoughts just drift by like clouds and not get too attached or too concerned about the thoughts that are coming by. And what you'll find even during this 5 minutes is that you come in and out of the present moment over and over and over again. You're in it for a few seconds and then it seems like you lose it, but then you get it back again and then you lose it again. And that will happen over and over again. But this little 5-minute practice every day is really going to help you grow and develop, as I said, so that you are mastering tools. First of all, the tool of using your breath to bring you into the present moment, a tool of being able to observe and experience your own body, a tool of witnessing your emotions without letting them take control over you, and the tool of allowing your thoughts to float by and gradually training your mind to discipline itself in a sense and focus attention on the present moment. So this, as I said, this is a 5-minute little daily practice. I recommend that you carve out time during the day when you can work on this if you seriously do want to become able to be in the present moment and able to be present for other people. Thich Nhat Hahn also wrote something beautiful, that being present for another person is how you help alleviate their suffering, and that there's nothing else you can do to take away their suffering, but simply being fully present with them and for them in the moment, fully attentive, fully listening, fully experiencing every exchange energetically that's taking place between you and the other person actually helps relieve whatever suffering they're experiencing. That's powerful. That's an incredibly powerful tool that each one of us wants to be able to use for the people we love in our lives. We want to know that we can fully be there for them and not be distracted and not be working out something else in our head instead of listening when they're trying to tell us something. And again, when we're working with other people, working with patients, we want to be able to be present for them. We want to be able to listen deeply and fully. We want to be able to understand what they're experiencing, and we want to be able to create that sacred space within which they can heal and transform. They can feel loved, they can feel heard, they can feel seen, they can feel meaning in their own existence through that connection with us because of our ability to be present with them. So I encourage you highly to utilize this daily 5-minute practice of training yourself to be in the present moment. And so the second step that you can take once you've been doing your 5-minute practice every day for a while and you feel like you are able to bring yourself into the present moment somewhat more easily, and that you can stay there for a little bit of time, at least a few seconds or a minute or so at a time, begin to utilize this new ability of yours to be more present during activities that you're doing during the day. And one great activity is when you're eating a meal. And so I mentioned to you my inability to be present and actually taste and enjoy the meal I was having at a really nice restaurant, which is what called my attention to the fact that I needed to figure out how to do this better. So you might use this ability you're working on, you're training yourself to become present when you're eating something. And you may not be able to maintain it for an entire meal, and especially if you're sharing a meal with other people, because there will be a lot of distractions. But what you might do is pick out one item of food that you're going to eat. Maybe you're going to eat a strawberry, or maybe a piece of chocolate, something amazing, something with lots of flavor and taste that's really wonderful that you would fully enjoy eating. And use your newly found skills of presence and focus and attention while you're eating that particular item. So let's say it's a strawberry, and hopefully, if you don't like strawberries, imagine something else here that you would enjoy. But focus in on what it feels like as you bite into the strawberry, and as you feel the strawberry, the coolness of the strawberry on your tongue, and how it's slightly tart and slightly sweet at the same time. And you can feel those little seeds on the outside of the strawberry. The texture is slightly rough, but then when you bite into the middle, it's soft inside. And so as you eat that strawberry, notice every single detail about it. And again, you're using your senses. You can smell the smell of the strawberry. You can see the redness of the color and the different shades of redness as you look inside the strawberry. And tasting and feeling and using all of your senses as you chew it and savor it. So I'm not saying you have to do this for an entire meal. Again, just just for a moment, pick one thing, one bite of food that you're going to eat, and practice being fully present as you eat that, and just savor it and get everything you can out of that bite, every little bit of enjoyment that you can, because that's giving you really powerful training at multitasking, in a way, being in the present moment while you're doing an activity, because that's really the secret. Is we want to learn ultimately, how do we be in the present moment most of our lives, during most of the time that we're awake and here, not just in those little moments of stillness when we steal away and make everything quiet so there are no distractions. We want to be so good at being present that we can be present for every activity we do throughout the day. So eating is a really powerful way to practice this, because it involves all of our senses. Another thing is listening to a piece of music. If there's some music you especially love, you might stop for a moment and listen to it and take all of it in and hear it, feel the beat and the vibration of the notes, and listen to the melody and hear the harmonies and hear the instruments that are playing and the percussion in the background, and just take all of it in, fully absorb that piece of music. Also, it could be, as I described with my hospice patients, watching a sunset and noticing all the different hues and the shades and the tones of color that are appearing in the sky, and how they come, and this cloud turns orange for just a few minutes and then it fades away so quickly. But over here, there's a little bit of purple and some red. Notice all these colors and how beautiful they are and how fleeting and changing they are. You might use it while you're looking at a piece of art. Maybe you fully take in the art and the colors and the textures in the painting, or perhaps it's a sculpture, and fully focus and be fully present while you're observing it and witnessing it. Nature is another great place to practice presence. If you're out on a hike in the woods, notice a tree, the bark, the color and the texture of the bark, the unevenness of the bark. Notice twigs and leaves and stones, everything around you. A stream of water, listen to the sound of it. Also, if you're with your loved ones, you can practice being fully present. Maybe you're with a child and just practice observing that child as she or he plays with a toy, or practice being fully focused on someone's smile or the beauty of their eyes and how they twinkle and sparkle. And just use this new ability you're cultivating to be in the present moment in as many ways as you can, in many, many tiny little moments throughout the day, to help you get the most out of them that you can. The more you practice it and the more you utilize this new ability, the more easily it will come to you, the more you'll actually find yourself being present when you weren't even trying to be, when you weren't even intentionally trying to focus your energy and bringing your attention to that focal point. You'll find yourself getting there all on your own without even your conscious intention of doing it over time. Now, that's not going to happen tomorrow. It won't happen after the first day you practiced it. But ultimately, this is where you're headed, is that you'll find yourself spending more and more of your time each day in this state of full presence and fully enjoying the day. And here's what's amazing and beautiful about that. In light of the fact that we are impermanent, that we won't last, and we are going to change, and that our lives are going to come to an end, when we have learned how to be fully present in as many moments as possible, day to day of our lives, whenever we do reach the point and it's our last breath, our last moment, we will have accumulated such a wealth of amazing, rich, deep, profound moments of living to the fullest, that the fact that we're letting life go will be part of a celebration. We will be able to say, wow, what a life it has been. It has been packed full. I've had moment after moment after moment of incredible experiences, and I've been fully here for every one of them. And the fact that it's my time now to let go of all of this, that's okay, because it has been a worthwhile journey. I've made the most of it. I made the most of being here. And that's how we want it to be. That's the place we want to be when we do come to that last moment, the last breath that we take in our lives. We want to go out with that feeling. I got everything I could out of this existence. I rocked this place. I made the most of every single thing that happened to me. Because that's what I couldn't say at the end of that dinner at that really nice restaurant. I walked away from there feeling like, I don't know what the food tasted like. I'm not going to even remember what I ordered because I wasn't there. And I don't remember what kind of music they were playing in the background. And I don't know, I didn't even appreciate what kind of candles were on the table. And I don't even remember what my husband and I talked about because I wasn't really even there. And that's sad. That's very sad. The fewer moments like that we have in our lives, the better. The more we have these rich moments of deep and profound experience of whatever is happening right here, right now, the more we're going to be building up to an end of life that feels powerful and meaningful to us. And so there's one more thing I wanted to share with you at the end to think about, and another little practice that you might be able to use. And this is based on a study I read that has been done, some research that's been done at UCSF, the University of California at San Francisco, on the emotion of awe, A-W-E, awe. And awe is, they have described it as when we see something novel or new that doesn't fit with our understanding of the world. And that experience causes us to feel small in comparison to the experience that we're having. And so one example of this, if you've ever been in a place, maybe camping or out in the wilderness where you're away from the lights of the city and you look up and see the Milky Way in the sky. And it's so incredible when you realize how many stars are out there in the universe and how far away they are from you, but you can still see their light in that moment. And you recognize the vastness of the universe and feel how tiny you are on this one little planet that's just a tiny fragment of the entire universe. That's the sense of awe when you feel small because you're looking at something so much bigger than yourself. And I wanted to bring that up because for me, this has a lot to do with being in the present moment, is kind of living in a state as much as possible of awe, remembering awe. Remember in every moment that I'm really a tiny speck here and the universe is immense, enormous. It's so much bigger than I can even comprehend with my mind. And that's a powerful experience. And what these researchers found that's very interesting is that when we are in a state of awe and experiencing awe, we experience greater humility, which makes sense. We see ourselves as small. It helps us get out of our ego state of believing that we're the center of the universe and that we're the most important creation in existence. It helps us remember our place and get humble, and helps us kind of transcend the concerns of the ego. It also, in studies they've shown, people experiencing awe are more likely to find social connections and harmony with other people. Because when we feel small and we don't feel like we're the center of the universe, we recognize more our interdependence with other people and our need to be connected with others and to work together with other people in order to survive, because we see the reality of the situation that we're really in here. As I said, a tiny speck in a vast universe. But in addition to that, in studies, they found that people who are experiencing awe have greater immune health. It means, so the immune system functions better, which means you're less likely to get ill. And a healthy immune system is less likely to experience autoimmune diseases. So you have greater health, greater well-being, less anxiety, more satisfaction and happiness in life the more often you are able to experience awe. But this is how I'm connecting with what we've been talking about today, is that you will have a greater capacity for experiencing awe when you can be in the present moment more often, because you will notice how awe-inspiring this entire planet is. Even if you're not looking up at the Milky Way, you will become awed by every little thing that you start to see around you during the day. You will be in awe at the way the needles on a pine branch line up in relationship to one another. You will be in awe at the beauty and the symmetry of the petals of a flower. You will be in awe at the different colors of blue in your loved one's eyes. You will be in awe at the way a blade of grass can grow up through a crack in the sidewalk. You will find everything around you can inspire you to this place of awe, of recognizing the beauty, the power, the vastness of the earth itself, and your good fortune at actually getting to be here to witness all of this, to experience the awe. So I'm recommending, as you work on developing your ability to be present, that you make sure every day that you think a little bit about awe. What inspires you with awe? What fills you with that feeling of something so much greater than just you and just your life and just your existence? It's what brings you to that place. And I came up with a little mnemonic using the letters of awe as just a way of reminding you how to get back into this state of the present moment. So for the A in awe, be awake. Remember to face every day being as awake and aware as you possibly can, not tuning out, not numbing yourself out, not repressing what's happening around you, not going through the motions, but be awake. Be awake every day, awake and aware and alert and paying attention to what's going on around you. For the W, be willing. Have a willing heart, willing and open to learn from whatever's happening in your life, willing and open to accept whatever circumstances and situations occur in your day-to-day existence, willing to face it, willing to go through whatever comes to you, not trying to run away, not trying to change everything, not ignoring or shutting out anything that's there for you, willing to experience everything that life has to offer you. And then for the letter E, engaged. Be fully engaged. Be fully here, right now, in this moment, taking it all in. Focused on this moment, all of your attention engaged right here in whatever it is that's happening right now. So be awake, be willing, be engaged, be in awe of life, this life that you have right here in this moment. It's incredible. And it's an amazing gift that you are here, that you're still here today, and that you get to experience it. So take it all in, soak it up. So I hope that some of this advice of mine is helpful to you as you seek to grow your skills at becoming present. I hope these tools have value for you. I hope that you'll remember to pay attention to your breath, that you'll remember to savor everything that comes along in your life, that you'll remember to let yourself experience awe whenever possible in your day-to-day life. I hope you found some suggestions that will be useful to you for learning how to bring your attention and energy into the present moment. And be sure to remember that we're here for love. That's really what all of this work is about, to help us experience more love in life. And so face your fear, be ready for whatever happens next, and love each and every moment of this life. Bye-bye.